It's been a while since I did any speaking in front of a lot of people, so pardon me if I fumble a little bit. My name is Emmanuel. What is this? Okay. My name is Emmanuel Dankyi. Most people think Ed is short for Edward or Edwin or anything like that, but fortunately or unfortunately, it's Emmanuel Dankyi and it's my initials. Um, it's a privilege to be, the first Ghanaian creative to be featured on the huddle. So I hope I'm able to deliver something with, the opportunity. So when I was called to come on here, I think I took a little bit of time to look back at all the work I've done throughout my career and where I came from to where I am today. And looking back, I realized one theme that was running through everything that I've done or every place that I've worked at is I like to live a life of creative experiments, and I don't like to stay in one place or do a single thing for very long. So I decided to title my presentation "Living a Life of Creative Experiments" because I'm always trying out something new. I'm always testing out things, and so that's what we are going to be talking about today. A little bit about me. On the broader sense, when people ask who I am, what I do, this is what I try to tell them. I exist to basically create cool things. Any cool thing you can think of, I like to create stuff like that. Just like, my Father in heaven has created a lot of cool things that surround us every day in nature. And to go into specifics, I'm a designer by trade, but depending on the time of day or the day in the week or the week in the month that you find me, I'm either designing motion, I'm either designing brand identities, I'm also doing creative and art direction. I write as well. Recently started designing some extended reality experiences, which we'll experience one of those today. I dabble in building communities as well, and the last one is I like to build, cool products in general, just cool physical things that I like to, look at, put on, and experience with other people. And sometimes when I have some free time, I dabble a little bit in some music as well, and sometimes I do create some of the musical pieces for some of the animation that I do. And so this is what that looks like. On the far right, we have some pictures from some of the community work that we've been doing. So on the top is an event. It's a design conference. I think it's the biggest design conference in Ghana, hosted by Dex, which I'm a part of. There's Frame by Frame, which is something tailored towards animators and animation lovers. We basically bring people together to experience, dope creations made by African animators and all of that. There's also some virtual reality work that I'm doing, some of the cool products that I've designed in my space at home. And then some other branding work, direction work, animation and illustration work on there. This is what my work life looks like. Currently, a marketing design lead at Nestcoin, building on board, mostly financial products in the crypto space, building communities in the crypto space as well. I do some creative consultancy work for these agencies right there, and I also co-founded an agency, a creative agency, about 5 years ago called Lime and Honey, and recently Creative Beans. Creative Beans is also another work I'm trying to do in the community space where we also try to spotlight, creators doing amazing things on the continent, just like the Huddle is doing. So we are also trying to help build the ecosystem by doing our part in there. We release monthly articles highlighting, our favorite creatives doing cool stuff on the continent, so you can check that out as well. And this is the mandatory list of people I've worked with in the past. And so diving into my journey right away, it's been about a decade since I started taking design pretty seriously. And this is what that looks like in a timeline. So first of all, high school, Prempeh College, studied visual arts. While I was there, I met, so the parts highlighted in yellow, I think the most pivotal parts um, of my creative journey and what has led me to where I am today. So, Prempeh College studied visual arts, met a pretty awesome mentor there called Dennis, who took me under his wing and basically trained me in illustration, drawing, design, and I pretty much followed him into the university to go and do, communication design because that's what he was doing and it looked cool. So I followed him there, entered into communication design, majored in film and animation. And I think one thing I did that helped me a lot was while I was there, right from first year, I started doing internships just to try and see what was happening in the design ecosystem and compare that and contrast that with what I was doing or being taught in school. So some of the internship I took, I think there's the National Health Learning Material Center. That's a government agency. There's HYPE, which was a design agency, and then there was Creo Concepts. So at Creo Concepts, the pivotal part over there for me was, at the time, it was, I think, the best animation and design agency in Ghana. So I was thrilled to have the opportunity to go there and learn, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity they gave me to be able to explore in the doing creative things like animation, design, how to do presentations with clients. It was over there that I learned a whole lot of things that has, helped me in my journey. And over there, I had the chance to, work on actual animation projects different from what we were being taught in school, and it opened my eyes to, a lot of things. Now, from there, I migrated to OMG Digital. So the thing about uni, design school, is we're basically being trained to finish school and end up in design agencies, right? But for me, looking at the ecosystem and looking at the landscape that we had at the time, I didn't feel connected creatively to any of the agencies around because of the kind of work that I was yearning to do. And so while at Creo Concept, we worked on branding projects for a startup, which would then become OMG Digital. And an interesting story is that after we're done working on the project, I had the chance to, share it on my portfolio as well. And the founder of OMG was a friend of my boss. And he saw the work that I had done on the project, and he was like, instead of going to pay agencies, a whole lot of money to be doing that kind of work for him, if I was able to do that level of work on the project, then he wants to hire me full-time as, their lead brand designer on there. And I took that opportunity because it wasn't a typical agency environment. It was a startup that dealt a lot in media, and we're creating a lot of the content for ourselves. So it was a very freely creative environment. We had the freedom to, just come up with ideas, do everything that we wanted within certain boundaries, of course. So that was also a place where I got to see a company being built from the ground up, how to manage people, how to work with people. And while I was there, also I had the chance to go to a film festival in the UK called Encounters. And it was over there that there was a section over there that had a focus on virtual reality films. And that was the first time I had an encounter with, VR headsets and watching stories in, spatial reality, as Apple would call it these days. And that kind of planted a seed in my mind that wouldn't go away since then. But at the time, I didn't have, the skill set or the technical know-how to create stuff like that. So eventually, we move on from OMG, and then we start our own creative agency to attempt to disrupt the creative ecosystem or the space in Ghana. And I think we've done a little bit of that with, some of the work that we've put out, one of which I'll be going through in this presentation. And while we were doing that as well, we had a chance to work on a virtual reality project for a client who was building educational modules for kids in virtual reality, right? And that was the first experience we had with actually working hands-on on a virtual reality project. And the dots started connecting for me because at the time, I think I had been doing motion design for a while and I was looking for another channel or opportunity to basically expand the skills that I had at the time because the 2D plane kind of began to feel a little bit boring for me. So I was looking for, the next thing to basically dive in and explore. So that project was also another very pivotal project in my career. And then fast forward 4 years later, I think we launched Lime AR, which I think is doing amazing stuff earlier this year. And then I'm also working on some, personal virtual reality films and stuff, which I will demonstrate some of that today as well. And then, currently doing, design work as well for NestCoin. So that is how my journey has looked like creatively. In terms of work, I think also when I decided to go back and look at some of the old work that I had done, I saw ignore the, what you are seeing. I saw the diversity in trying other things, even at the beginning stage. Because when I looked at this mood board, I saw, there's design in there, there's some attempt at 3D in there, some sculpture in there, there's painting, there's illustration, there's attempts at creating logos in here. And we even built a 3D model of an assembly hall for our school at the time. So I think looking at this, I think just brought everything back to light that, even from the beginning, I've always been interested in trying new things and exploring things from, different fields and different, basically just trying anything that I could find my hands on creatively. And this is what my work looks like today, 10 years down the line. And I think it's been a very, quite interesting, quite exciting journey. And I can't wait to see what the next 10 years have for me. So we'll dive straight into the first project, which is a brand identity design project for Adjei Park, which is actually the owner of, the space we are in right now. So Adjei Park, I think most people know them as Impact Hub. Most people in Ghana know them as Impact Hub. And so last year they were celebrating their 10th anniversary and they wanted to outdoor, the actual mother brand of, the Impact Hub community. And so we're charged with coming up with an identity that represented, one, the soul of Accra, because I think one of the main things they try to do is they want to be the entry point to tech, innovation, creativity, and everything in the digital space when it comes to Ghana, Accra, and Africa. So that's why we had this slogan, Accra meets the world, because they believe that Accra is, the center of where all these things are happening. And I think they've done some amazing work over the years by, the events and experiences they've curated, basically helping founders. They've worked with a lot of founders, a lot of creatives. They've created experiences for a lot of people. So this is a mood board that we came up with. Some of the keywords, I think the 3 main keywords that they live by is for people to be able to live, work, and play. So they provide spaces where people can live, and then work, and then play as well. So they are giving you like a 360 experience that helps you connect with other creators, that helps you connect with other innovators in the space. And that also embodies the soul and spirit of, Accra, Ghana, and all of that. So some other keywords. So they wanted it to be bold, like the people of Osu. That's what the founder said. They are also, building communities as well. They wanted to portray the culture. They wanted it to be exciting. They wanted it to be, creative, and they wanted it to represent the people. So this mood board kind of gave us an insight into what we wanted to create and how we wanted to come up with. And I think it's one of the most interesting projects I've worked on. And we also had the time constraints because they came to us when the launch was supposed to be in about 2 weeks. So we had to really go hit the ground running within 2 weeks to build whatever we built. And it wasn't an easy process, but I think it's one of the most fun projects I've done. So looking at this, so basically we are representing, the boldness, the community, the culture with, some of the bold typography, which is also inspired by some of the typography seen on vehicles around, some of the typography seen in the country. I think they still have that marking on the first building that they had with this bold lettering and the short form of their name. So that was also a pivotal thing for us to use. We took a look at the people, how colorful we are, and some illustrations that mirror, some of the classic illustrations we have for our barber shops, movie posters from back in the day and all that. And so Accra begins here. So diving deep into what the identity looked like. So Adjei Park, I think the logo, it had to be simple. It had to spell out the name, and it still had to have a little bit of personality to it. So we couldn't just type the name and leave it there. So I think we went back to the inspiration of the lettering they had on their buildings at the time. And then that's basically where the idea came from. And then we decided to look at how stencils are also printed on buildings and basically drew the idea from that to create something distinct but simple and something that has personality as well. And one other thing we needed to consider was to continue the culture of naming their buildings, because the plan is for them to build a variety of them around Osu. And so each one needs to have the identity running through it. So we had an initial variant of the logo, which had numbers attached to it. And this is an example of what that could look like in a community of, Adjei Park with the numbered buildings. And so looking at the color system, so one thing that they wanted, but also wanted to avoid, was to represent Ghana without using red, yellow, and green, right? That was going to be too obvious. They already had yellow in their color palette, so we decided to keep that. And then we added the green, and then the orange over there was supposed to be the red, but we toned it down a little bit just to give it a much more exciting vibe. And we toned down all the colors just to make it fun but less playful. And going a step further to ensure that the colors don't look like, Teletubbies or children's brand, we decided to create this color map that's basically from a bunch of explorations, which I'll show later, tells us which colors work best on what backgrounds to give the desired effects that we were looking at. And we went a step further to create. So this one is specific for how typography would work, on the colors and on the illustrations and stuff. And so all the places with arrows directed at the boxes basically tells us that these ones are specific for typography. So it helps keep control of how many colors we are using in a composition and how effective it's going to be when it comes to contrast and communication and all of that without overwhelming people. And then we went ahead to generate a motif system, basically from some of the stencils created in the logo. And one thing about the pattern also was they wanted something traditional, but not too overwhelming like what we see in the kente and all those other things. So we had to improvise and keep all the patterns at 2 colors maximum. Most of it have same color theme, but with just different values of the same color, just to keep it calm, but also exciting and stand out as well. And we had this idea because they wanted something else besides the numbers to brand the buildings with, eventually when they start getting to that. So we decided to create thin strips of the pattern, and then, when they are ready, they just slap them in the corners of the buildings, just little representations of, oh, this is an AAP building, without it being also too overwhelming. And then we went ahead to create, an illustration system reminiscent of some of the illustrations showed in the mood board. So some traits we took from some of the local illustrations we have are, a lot of the features are exaggerated and sometimes unrealistic. So that's the main thing that we took. And we decided to make all the characters, different colors, just to create an unrealistic but interesting, vibe to it. And there's, a bunch of other rules down here that explain basically what we're trying to do and how to create an AAP illustration, with how the strokes work, how the figures are placed, how there's perspective in all of them, and all of that. And then we added a sticker set in there because I think a lot of people who work in tech are also may or may not be fans of stickers, so they wanted something to give to people when people come around, when they do events, and they have people around, when they have communities that can identify with, the goal of AAP and who they are. Yeah. And then we went ahead to create some collateral for the 10th anniversary launch. So we can see how everything else is playing itself out and expressing itself in some of these designs and merch, and some more brand collateral over here. Yeah, layout. So I think the layout, this is actually one of the very few times I've actually intentionally used the golden mean in design, because I thought it would be interesting, because we've learned it in school. I've done design over, so many years, but I haven't actually sat down to intentionally create things according to, a golden mean grid. For those of you who don't know what the golden mean is, it's practically a number or a formula which gives you perfect, I don't know how to explain it. Once you calculate it perfectly, it gives you, perfect grades, and things fall in place very nicely. So I decided to go back, take that up, and then try and create some elements which will guide whoever the designer is going to be into creating some of these things. So we worked through that to create a bunch of very interesting grids. So that determines the size of where the logo should be, the logo placement, how big this shape should be, how big the text should be, how big a header should be, how small, a smaller text should be, where the illustrations should go. And I think it helped a lot, and it saved us a lot of time, because we really wanted to move fast with, creating something good but also impactful. So this is kind of how my brain works on a normal day when I'm going through projects. It's very chaotic. And so the more chaotic my work looks, I think the more beautiful the results are in the end. The more cleaner it looks when I'm starting, it means it's going to be a disaster. So this is like a sneak peek into what goes on in my brain when I'm thinking about some of these things, when I'm making some of these decisions, when I'm creating some of these experiments and explorations. So this is a video of how some of it played out in the launch event. There's no audio. Okay. Sorry? We'll go back to it. Okay. Um, yeah, so the second project is a motion design project. I think probably a controversial one for some people because there's AI involved. Um, but we'll talk about that when we dive into there. So I would want to play, should go back. Yeah. Oh,
Hello, can you hear me from the back?
okay. Yep. So I'm just going to play my reel, motion reel very quickly, just a combination of some of the best work I think I've done over the years, and then we'll dive into the animation project. Thank you. Yeah, so this film, I think I made it at, I think around the time where the conversation about AI was, buzzing and a lot of noise was being made about what it is, where it's going to go. It's going to take designers' jobs. It's going to kill a lot of careers. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And then I was basically curious as to what the technology was, how it could benefit me, and I was also trying to see if indeed it's something that can take my job away in the next few years, right? So that curiosity just basically drove me to go like, normally when I'm working on animation projects, I'll either illustrate it myself or I'll work with other illustrators to create the illustrations for me to animate. But what if I can cut out all that process and then just let the computer do the illustration for me and then I just, animate. And it wasn't a very straightforward process. It was a lot of learnings, and I had to get creative about a lot of things. But I think it was a very exciting short project that I worked on using illustrations from Midjourney and DALL-E. And I think one thing I came out with was after the project, I think I saw a quote on Twitter from somebody who said, AI is not going to take away people's jobs. It's people armed with AI that's going to take away other people's jobs. And I think that was very evidential to me because even trying to art direct it to get exactly what you want is a skill of itself. Because if you don't know exactly what you are looking for, if you don't have background knowledge with certain technical terms or what to look for, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually do something that you don't know anything about, right? So even with AI, you still need to be knowledgeable. You still need to have certain skill sets. You still need to put in the work to get a desired outcome. So I'm just going to play the film real quick. I think so. It's basically a snippet from one of my favorite songs that I decided to bring to life visually because there's no music video for it yet. Yeah, so I'll play it real quick and then I'll walk you through the process of how it came to be. Oh. Okay.
My cheek brushes against his, smooth on stubble for a moment, and then it's gone. He walks along the platform as if in a dream. Every fibre in me wants to shout and scream, to stop, to run across to him and take him in my arms, to tell him I love you. You silly, silly man, I love you. But instead I stand still, heart cracking. Those little curls on the back of his head bouncing as he steps out of my life. But I
Too much time on my phone. Baby, do you still sleep alone? Come back to me. Come back to me.
Yeah. So
my cheek
what the process looked like. First of all, I think I had to, break down what the lyrics was saying and try to picture what I want to show visually with every single lyric. So I basically had to write that down and write the prompts under each lyric and then go into Dali and Midjourney because there were some of the images I was getting correct in one that I wasn't getting in the other. So I had to, try for a couple of times. I think it took me about 2 days of prompting to get the exact images I was looking for. And then took the selected ones into Photoshop for, separation of backgrounds and all those things. So I would separate some of the elements, crop them out, repaint the background just to have an empty background, took them to After Effects, and then use puppet pins for some of the elements, use some other tools in After Effects for what exactly I wanted to generate. And I don't think I could have done this just using AI by itself if I didn't know how to animate, if I didn't know how to illustrate, if I didn't even know how to write to be able to tell it exactly what I wanted from it. So I think it was a very eye-opening process. And I think from that point on, I've had at one point in my process or the other, there's some kind of AI tool that is helping me achieve what it is that I want to achieve and the vision I want to bring to life. And it's not always a straightforward process as some people might make it seem. It may eventually get there, but I think for now, it's an aid, it's a tool for me, and it just helps makes my work that much more expressive and that much more, different. So that's basically the process that I went through to create that short piece of film. Yeah, this is what some of the images that I generated look like. Not everything made the cut, but I think it was still an exciting process. The third thing that I want to talk about is actually a short film that I'm working on in VR. I think one of the things also working in VR does for me is it helps me sidestep the process of having to go back to learn 3D because I started 3D and it was a long rabbit hole and it was very stressful for me. But I still wanted to do something that had, existed in three-dimensional space and all that. And I think VR gave me that the ability to do that because I can literally just illustrate and have it come out, in 3D. So there's a short story I'm working on, and I've built some scenes in 3D. So I would just show one of the scenes, and then if there are any two people here who want to experience what the other two scenes look like, just raise your hand, and then I'll bring you up, and then you walk through the other scenes as well. Cool? Okay. So I'm just going to... Excuse me. Okay. Hopefully it's showing there. Yeah, go with this. Can everybody see? Okay. Oh, there you are. So this is one of the scenes. It's supposed to be a church building in the middle of nowhere. So I just let it play out. So it's basically showing the process of some of the things the process of as I was creating. So you're just playing back. Okay. And then so I think one of the advantages of this also is if I have a bigger space, I can build a set as large as I want and then basically just walk through it and act in it and record it and have that as my film basically. So it's a much more easier process for me. We'll go into the church now, see what that looks like. Just a few random seats and yeah. So that's what my first set looks like. Who wants to come up and check it out? Nobody? Just 2 volunteers. Okay. If you are blind, okay. I think it might be able to fit. There's space for my glasses work in there, but I don't know if yours will. We can try. Let me go back. Okay. So once the scene opens, you grab with this, and then you can open or close to increase the size, reduce the size, draw it close to you, take it back. You want to draw? This is your trigger. You can just press it and then, yeah. So let me open the scene for you. So this is a forest scene in the middle of a road. Right. Okay. So hold on to this. So yes, and then the middle is to grab. So just grab both together, increase, reduce, draw it close to you, move it away. So that's how basically you move around in the scene, right? And then let me. It doesn't fit. Can you see?
Oh, yeah, I can.
You can see?
Yeah.
Okay, let me hold on to that for you. Okay. That's it. Is it comfortable?
Yeah. Oh, this day.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So press.
Which of them?
So increase, reduce. You can turn it around.
I mean, the first, the middle,
So you can, let me, so open your hands, click, open your hands, click. Yeah, and then you can turn around your body, look around, look down. So this the story is basically yeah, it's about somebody who is dead but doesn't know he's dead, um, and he's basically roaming through different portals. So there's a road, there's a forest scene, there's a cemetery, which is where he realizes that he's dead, and then there's the church. I'm not going to give away a lot of that right now, but that's a high level overview of what the story is.
Can you erase what I drew inside?
I think
I
this.
feel like you need a flower.
Don't worry, I'll take care of it later.
Okay. It's a little bit, you can never really know. Okay, I'm like big inside the forest now.
You can try walking around.
Oh no.
You don't want to walk around.
But I'm afraid though, because if I start walking now, I'll panic. Okay.
So you have to, yeah, yes. And then,
I'm at the edge of the road. It's showing me like a red boundary.
yes, so you have to face here.
The road is here.
Yes, so you can grab it,
And all that.
yes, and then release. And then pull your hand forward, grab, push it,
Like this.
yes,
Okay, but it's not moving again. Basically.
because it's too big.
Oh, exactly. I've gotten to the end of the road.
Okay.
Where is the cemetery?
The cemetery is, I have to go back and show you that one.
Okay.
So,
Anyway, it's fine. I think I can.
okay,
Stop now.
all right.
The flower I drew is so big. Oh my god.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're welcome. Second volunteer. Nobody? Okay. I'll just show that myself and then, oops. Okay, so basically that's the. Yeah, that's the cemetery. Let's see if Jenny's with me. Yeah, so this is the cemetery with the church in the background. Very cool looking cemetery. How do you change the color? There are tools. Where is my okay? The other thing is oh wait, let me just reset. So this is your color. So you can just pick any color and then you just create whatever you want to create. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of brushes over here as well. You can pick any and then just basically draw whatever it is that you want to draw. And that's that. Yeah, so that's the cemetery. Some fun messages at the back of every tomb, if people are going to notice. But yeah, those are the shots that I have so far for my short film. And we'll get back to the presentation. Yeah. It's just to keep you safe. So before you start, you create a boundary. So when you get close to it, it turns red so that you know that you are going close to destroying your TV or, Uh-huh. Um, it's working. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I think we are coming to the end. Basically, going to show you guys how all these experiences have shaped my approach to life and creativity. Um, wait, it's lost again. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so here are a few lessons I've learned from moving around a lot in different spaces. The first thing is that I've come to realize that everything is the same in principle when it comes to creativity and design and all of that. Interior design might be different in practice from graphic design, might be different in practice from animation, but I think across board they all carry very similar principles that you can take from one spectrum to the other, and that's one thing that has allowed me to be able to operate in a lot of different fields, because I think universally design is very similar, if not the same, in principle, and that has been a very helpful tip. Story is king. I think the beginning of every creative journey or anything that you want to put out should focus on your story first before you think about how to execute said story and the impact you want the story to have. Skills are only tools, and I treat them as such. I don't overemphasize on having one skill or not having another skill, because I believe the main goal is to get my idea out, and the skills are only tools to help me to do that. And so, if there's a particular skill required for me to bring out a particular dream and I don't have that skill, I can bring someone on board to help me realize that vision, because the most important thing is the end goal and not the skills I have or don't have. Always be exploring, I think, is self explanatory. Never compete, forge your own path. I think for me, competition is one thing I don't do well at. I don't like competing with people. So if I feel like there's a particular space there's a lot of people flooding to or operating in, my initial instinct is to either change it to something that is unique to me or try something entirely different that has very little competition. It's not that I'm running away from competition, but I just feel like I just feel the urge to keep trying new things and keep standing out and keep making everything that I do different from what you find with most people, and then create the things you wish existed. If there's something that you want to happen or something that I want to happen, something that I feel doesn't exist, instead of complaining about it, I try and go out and create it, because complaining never solves any problems. Tools are only vehicles for your ideas and then nothing more. I think a lot of creatives, especially young creatives, focus on, I want to learn Photoshop. The new AI tool has come, I want to try it. Like right now, there are 50 million different AI tools. If you want to try every single one of them, you probably, pass out at one point in time. So I see tools as necessary for only bringing out my ideas and not the main thing that I need to be focusing on. So if I'm doing a project and I realize that I need a particular tool, I involve that, and I don't, lose sleep over not knowing how to use one tool or the other, because I believe the ideas and the stories are the most important things. Inspiration is all around you. If you open your eyes, if you talk to people, if you travel, if you explore, if you spend less time on your phone and behind your screens and actually go out, I think there's a lot of inspiration, all around us. Give your brain space to breathe and embrace boredom. I think being bored is one of my favorite things, because whenever I'm bored for a very long period of time, that's when I get some of the most brilliant ideas, some of the crazy ideas come to me, because at that point in time, my brain is empty and I'm thinking about nothing else. So it's something I actually make intentional time to do at least once or twice a year, to have a block of days where I have nothing to think about, I have nothing to do. I'm just making myself intentionally bored just to come up with, interesting ideas. And play a lot. Don't take life too seriously. Life is already too serious, So, there's no failure, only lessons. And I think that is that. And I'm always striving to do cool things in life. So, my name is Emmanuel Dankyi, and this has been my presentation.
Can we